I'm Helier, and this is the second of my talks on the Platonic tradition in philosophy. I'm going to begin with a question. My question is, what is a question? Questions usually begin with words such as what, where, when, who, how, and why. The first 5 of these are asking for empirical information and are straightforward. But the last one, why, is different. It's seeking an explanation. And that makes us ask, well, what is an explanation anyway? There's an old joke in philosophy about the philosophy professor who set an examination which consisted of a single word, why? And the student who got the best mark was one who answered with a single word. He answered, because. And that gives the clue to what explanation is, because the word because is a slight corruption of the 2 words by cause, or possibly by cause of. Explanation is causal. To describe causes is to explain their effects. And you see this most clearly in theoretical physics. If you ask a theoretical physicist what it is that theoretical physics describes, the usual answer is theoretical physics explains empirical data by describing their underlying causes. And that reiterates that explanation is causal by describing causes, but the causes are underlying, and that means we want to know, what does underlying mean? It's an old expression in philosophy. Causes are underlying. And if I may digress a little bit at this point, physicists know very little about philosophy. And this marks a one-way street, which is in fact a one-way street which is one way in both directions, because philosophers also know very little about physics. And this is a pity, because each has quite a lot to teach the other, and each would benefit considerably from learning the other. However, that was a digression. But nonetheless, theoretical physicists use the old philosophic term underlying, and it's quite simple to explain what the word means. It's not literally underlying, it's a metaphor, and it means imperceptible. And of course, what is imperceptible is non-empirical. Empirical means known through the senses, or in other words, what is perceived. If it's non-empirical, then it's theoretical. So what the theoretical physicists are really saying is that theoretical science explains empirical phenomena by describing theoretical causes. It's no point in going to underlying. The underlying causes, so-called, are theoretical causes. And why are they imperceptible? They're imperceptible because the nature of explanation is that it requires necessity. If I answer one of your questions requiring an explanation, I say, well, it may be this and it may be that, or it may be the other. They're not really satisfied with that, because I'm not giving an explanation. I'm giving an explanation if I say, well, it has to be so and so. It must be. It's necessary. So we have to inquire a little bit into the nature of necessity. What is necessity? Well, philosophically, there's a tradition on this. There are three modalities, so-called. They are contingency, necessity, and impossibility. And they may all be defined quite simply in terms of possibility. Contingency is plural possibility, necessity is singular possibility, and impossibility is zero possibility. Plural, singular, zero. And it's necessity we're interested in. Necessity is singular possibility. Another way of putting this is that the contingency, necessity, and impossibility are maybe, must, and never. Or ordinary language use. And I might mention in passing that these three modalities appear also in law and in moral philosophy in the form of permitted, required, and prohibited. However, we are interested in causation because we're examining explanation. And I should explain that we only have one area of knowledge in which we experience necessity, and that is logic, including the logic of mathematics. To take a very simple logical example, if you add 3 to 2, you get 5. Now, if you think of adding 3 to 2 as the cause, then necessarily you get 5, because 5 is the only possibility when you add 2 and 3. If it's the only possibility, it's a singular possibility, and if it's a singular possibility, it's necessity. So that addition of 2 and 3 to get 5 is a logical necessity. We're familiar with logical necessities in other cases. I won't give you lots of examples. But I do want to emphasize that necessity must not be confused with correlation. To give you an example, lightning followed by thunder is a correlation. It's not a necessity. Correlation is one thing followed by another without necessity. Causation is one thing followed by another with necessity. Correlation is empirical, known through the senses. Causation is not empirical. It's underlying. It's imperceptible. It's theoretical. Because we cannot perceive the necessity in causation. There are no empirical necessities. We know logical necessities which are in the mind, and we believe, but only believe, because we don't know for sure, we believe in causal necessities. But the causal necessities are imperceptible. They are non-empirical. So, there we have it. Causation is both necessary and imperceptible. And this brings us to what we were talking about in the last talk concerning Plato and his two worlds. You remember we talked about the world of the forms, which we renamed for convenience the noumenal world, and what Plato called the sensible world, which is what we call the empirical world. For Plato, the world of forms is perfect. And it's worth mentioning that perfection is a singular possibility. Any departure from perfection ruins the perfection. It's no longer perfect. So there is only one possibility for perfection. Anything else is a departure from perfection and not a perfection. So Plato's world, the world of forms, what we're calling the noumenal world, is a world of things which are imperceptible and, so far, of singular possibility. Now, we believe in this world, the noumenal world, although we don't, in common sense, put it in this way, but we believe in it because we want explanations. If you have no explanations, you know practically nothing. We are very interested in explanations. We want to know why. And because we want explanations, we believe in causation. And because we can't perceive causation, we believe in the noumenal world, which can be defined as everything that exists but cannot be perceived. And that includes all causes, plus perhaps some other things which we'll go into in another talk. Because we want to explain, we believe in the noumenal world. And the noumenal world, as opposed to the empirical world, gives us the two worlds of Plato. And so we're back to Plato again. This is the end of my second talk.